You know, I think that one joke of where that Alita says to Orion Pax, "You don't got the touch nor the power," is one of the funniest jokes in that whole movie.
Clear reference to the 1986 movie.
Right? Hello, everybody. What's up? It is Zach the Dark Conservatarian here on my secondary channel, obviously Dark Hunt Entertainment, with a good friend and often co-host of all my live streams, Loudmouth Reviews. Say hi, Loudmouth.
Hello.
Yeah, so jumping right into it, obviously, we both had seen Transformers 1, well, about a month ago, at least, anyways, but still kind of fresh, fairly fresh on our minds, I think. And I thought, hey, why not have a Transformers 1 live stream reviewing the movie and maybe a whole lot of other Transformers content, especially if we get Arkham Knight Rider on, who might be a guest, maybe not, who knows. But I sent him the link, and I kind of hope that he joins on because he's a bit of a Transformers connoisseur. But yeah, I got the reference right there, and that's kind of what made me bust a gut laughing. Like, what was kind of sad about it, though, was that I was the only one who laughed at that joke. Goes to show how uncultured people are. Of course, the people that were behind me was a bit of a family, and it was a whole bunch of young boys. And if I had to guess, I think that the only reference of Transformers material that they know of is maybe one of the more modern series and the Bayformers movies. And
so you're saying that kids today haven't grown up on the same cartoons that us old farts have grown up on?
Yeah. So an obvious news, water is wet, I guess, but still.
So are you saying that we're both old, balding, crusty pieces of shit that have one foot in the grave?
Hey! Who you calling balding? Sorry.
Yes.
Well, I'm not that old exactly. I mean, I'm only about to hit 30, and so that movie was released in '86. 8
I
years
wasn't even
before I was
born
born. Actually,
when that movie came out.
Huh?
I wasn't even born yet.
Right, but back in a pre-Bayformers era, that was pretty much the only Transformers movie that we knew of was Transformers 1984.
Yeah, and it didn't really do that well at the box office even then. It because there was actually planned to make a Thundercats movie as well, but it actually got canceled due to the underperformance of the 1986 Transformers movie. What was planned to be the Thundercats movie was still made, but it was made as a multi-part TV show episode on a much lower budget.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry?
Not that I'm not going to say that movie was ever really that good if you really ignore the nostalgia. Most interesting thing about it is it was Orson Welles' last role.
Yeah, so I hear. And apparently he did not give much of a crap about the role that he was playing, and he was like the Alec Guinness of Transformers cast.
Yeah.
Of where that Alec Guinness really did not like Star Wars or playing as Obi-Wan, but he was all like, screw it, it's a paycheck.
Yeah, but I think playing Unicron actually was a real hell of a last role for Orson Welles, I think.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. It's like that role would not be complete without his deep guttural voice, in the same way as we would not have Saruman in the way that he is right now if it wasn't for Christopher Lee.
You know that you hear that the new Lord of the Rings that's coming out actually is still using like unused audio from Christopher Lee for the performance of Saruman.
You talking about War of the Rohirrim?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not even know that they were going to be featuring Saruman in that movie. But
Saruman is in it, and they're using like unused dialogue. Christopher Lee recorded a long time ago. He like recorded dialogue for that story, kind of just as a rehearsal.
But to rewind a bit back on subject, I really like Transformers 1. In fact, I think that it's like only second place amongst my own Transformers rating, which I do still to this day consider the '86 movie to be the #1 top dog of all theatrically released Transformers movies. But
really,
yeah, it's
better
my
than
personal
Bumblebee,
opinion.
because I definitely say Bumblebee is the best Transformers movie.
Bumblebee If you had to push me, I would say that it's like third place. But I find it kind of tied with Rise of the Beast. I really like those movies a lot, almost equally speaking with each other. But I have to give another rewatch to Bumblebee. Of course, Bayformers 2007 would be at fifth place solidly. Sixth place would be Dark of the Moon. Seventh place would be probably Revenge of the Fallen, and then Age of Extinction is in last place of the ones that I've seen, anyways. I dare not even watch The Last Night. It just sounds so soul-suckingly bad by watching Pointless Hub's review of the movie.
Oh yeah, it's fucking garbage. I pretty much hate all the Bay movies. They're garbage tier storytelling.
Even 2007.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the 2007 movie, it's a decent 90-minute movie that's bloated to 140 minutes through like a half hour or more of pure unadulterated garbage. You could dramatically improve that movie, not by changing anything, but just by cutting out a bunch of unnecessary filler that fills it.
Like the Transformers characters fucking around at Sam Witwi's house.
That dumb scenes with them on the beach, or scenes where that one like blonde hot chick tries to find Anthony Anderson. He starts screaming about some nonsense. Oh, a whole bunch of scenes there, just a complete waste of fucking time.
Oh, you're talking about the one fat black hacker dude who was all like, "Shut up, Grandma!"
Yeah, why was this in the movie? It's boring. It's annoying. Get it out of the fucking movie.
Oh, I gotcha. Grandma, I'll get you your prune juice.
Yeah, and that, but I thought after seeing it, I didn't hate it. I'm like, yeah, that wasn't a very good movie, but it set up things that could go in good directions for sequels. But then this was made by Michael Bay, and he pretty much just made the same shitty movie 5 times. He didn't really go in any new directions in the sequels. He just kept repeating the same lame formula over and over and over again.
There is one thing that he did not repeat, and which I think we both wish that he kind of did repeat more, was the personality of Optimus Prime, because definitely by the third one, like you said, he's a complete psychopath, killing Megatron after Megatron saved his ass and shooting Sentinel Prime in cold blood.
That's not even the worst thing he does in that movie. The worst thing he does is he pretends to leave the planet just to teach humanity a lesson in trusting Decepticons, which leads to how many deaths. I'm like, wow. That was absolutely cold-hearted, Optimus Prime.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Now that you damn it, you ruined that movie a little bit more for me. I mean, even though that it's like the rawest and most war-centric out of all the Transformers movies, at least that's kind of how that Pointless Hub puts it. Anyways, it does seem to be pretty shitty in its representation of Optimus Prime and other stuff as well.
Yeah, and honestly, the storytelling in those movies never made any fucking sense. The Robot Chicken had this hilarious sketch like right before Dark of the Moon came out that has Optimus Prime giving the Allspark to Sam. Says, "Careful, Sam. If Megatron gets the Allspark, he will rule the entire universe, or it might kill him, and then possibly raise him from the dead."
Yeah.
Frankly, Sam, I don't fucking know what the Allspark does.
It's like the Allspark and just Energon itself, even for that matter, is just some MacGuffin type of story element that does literally whatever the fuck that Michael Bay wants it to do for no particular reason. There's like no like hard working logical system to it working in this universe. It just does whatever. It can kill you. It can raise you from the dead. It doesn't even matter of how much that is used on you. Just whatever.
I mean, objectively, Revenge of the Fallen is probably the worst of the Transformers movies. But honestly, Age of Extinction, even though it's probably as a movie a bit better than Revenge of the Fallen, it pisses me off more because that movie has some of the most shameless pandering to China ever in a Hollywood movie.
Yes. And honestly, re-listening to Pointless Hub's review of all 5 Bayformers movies, I think that might be like the one biggest reason why Age of Extinction seems to honestly suck the soul out of me more than the first 3 movies. And that, as fucking stupid as the first 3 movies were, especially Revenge of the Fallen, at least there was a good sense of 2000 Americana in them that just can at least like giddy up the inner boy inside me, be all like USA, USA. Whereas the fourth one, there's not a whole lot of that American spirit in that one. Instead, it, like you said, supplements it with a whole bunch of China pandering. Like it takes place in China. It doesn't take place hardly ever in America.
They moved the third act to China for really no fucking reason whatsoever, and all it does is just praise how awesome China is and portrays members of the Chinese Communist Party as like these super competent badasses that root out the Decepticons in like 5 minutes.
Right. That's stupid. But out of all the things that is stupid plot wise out of the Bayformers movies, I mean, even on the best day of enjoying Revenge of the Fallen, there is still a big fat chunk of my brain that just goes watching the movie and goes realizing of how incomprehensibly contradictory it is. Like the one moment, Jetfire and everyone else will say that Optimus Prime is a descendant of the ancient Primes. But then later, by the end fight, the Fallen is all like, die like your brothers. And Optimus is all like, they were your brothers too. It's like, what the fuck? Were these guys like his ancestors, like his great, so many greats grandfathers? Or were they like his brothers? Like, pick one. Which one?
No, yeah. There's no effort at consistent storytelling in those movies whatsoever. Bay just did not give a flying fuck at all. They just do whatever that you want in the particular moment.
And I realized that the RC twins were rather stupid, but they just got dropped rather randomly halfway through the third act of that movie, as well as Simmons too, for that matter. It's kind of weird. Another contradictory thing is of where that Jetfire is all like the Fallen was stronger than his brothers, all while showing on the actual screen the Fallen's brothers kicking his fucking pansy ass as he falls off the rock there. And instead of like finishing the job and killing him the rest of the way, they, for some inexplicable reason, decide to use their own bodies as to seal off this chamber that would hide the Allspark. I
also love how there's like an empty field in the background of the Smithsonian, according to that stupid ass movie.
Right.
It's so stupid. You can also in the fourth movie see the fucking Sears Tower in the background of Hong Kong.
Yeah, that too. Are all of the Smithsonian's museums like in downtown Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, they are in downtown Washington. There's not an empty field behind them. I've been to them a few times.
I've been to like at least two of the Smithsonian's before, but I did not see the aircraft museum. I haven't been to every.
There's not an empty field behind it. That movie is retarded.
Right, I gotcha.
There's no sense of continuity. But back to Transformers 1, I'd probably say it was my second favorite Transformers movie. My favorite being Bumblebee. My second favorite being the newest Transformers 1. And very close behind it would be Rise of the Beast. And huge gap would be kind of the Bay movies.
Wait, what about, where does 86 line up in your ranking?
Better than the Bay movies, but below those other three.
Oh, really? You thought that Transformers 86 was a little bit worse than Rise of the Beast?
Yes, definitely. I'm sorry, it's not. The 86 is not a very good movie. It's hard to follow if you didn't watch the show beforehand, and even if you have watched the show, it's still kind of hackneyed. There's this 20-year time gap between the first two seasons and the 86 movie. The first two seasons are set in the mid 80s when the show aired, but then basically we get a 20-year time gap for this movie where the kid Spike from the first two seasons is now an adult man with a kid of his own, but we don't really get much explanation of what the hell happened in that 20-year time gap. It kind of barely explains, as it just kind of goes from one random action sequence to another. It's not a very good movie.
Well, it is kind of weird the setup of it. I mean, I haven't seen like much of the original series, so I'll have to definitely take your word for it that there's a massive time jump with Spike's age and then him also having a son all of a sudden. But I guess there's one bit of a flaw about the 86 movie in that it doesn't focus enough on the humans' interpersonal relations with each other. And then Michael Bay seems to overcorrect and focus way too much on the humans and not enough on the Transformers.
I like Honest Trailers renamed the 86 movie The Assassination of Optimus Prime by the Coward Hasbro.
Well, honestly, I mean, wait, do you hate that move that they made in that movie?
It was kind of a shit move because you know why they did it, right? They did it because they wanted kids to buy the next generation of toys, so they basically killed off the previous generation. The hope kids would buy new ones.
Really?
Oh yeah, the movie's essentially a giant toy commercial.
Well, well, that was basically what all the Hasbro cartoon series were, though.
Yeah, pretty much.
To be fair,
and that was kind of the biggest flaw in the whole original series was the fact that they would often try to shoehorn like another toy that Hasbro would make into the show, and it would often have a character kind of just show up and do something cool and save the day, and then he'd disappear, never to be seen from again. But buy his toy, kids. Your parents will buy it if they love you.
well, okay, so the behind the scenes intention of why that they killed him off might be for rather selfish or kind of greedy reasons, but I guess I don't really mind it so much because on screen I thought that it was executed fairly well. I mean, we saw enough of Optimus, or at least I thought the movie shown enough anyways for us to get invested in his death, and it was very well dramatized and very well paced, the way that one moment he's like severely injured by Megatron, and then when the battle like finally fades away, they're in the medical room and Optimus is just slowly fading away. Gives us
one shall stand, one shall fall.
Yeah, exactly. And probably that's probably another good reason as to why that I rank the 86 movie so high is because, in my opinion, the more I think about it, that has got the absolute best portrayal of Optimus Prime. Like we go talking about of how that the Transformers 2007 movie seems to get down the parental or the paternal side of Optimus fairly well, but at the same time make him a little bit too much of a pacifist to where that he doesn't even want to kill Megatron. And then in Rise of the Beasts and especially Dark of the Moon, he's made too much of a psychopathic murderer. Whereas I think that the 86 movie has the best in between, the best of both worlds, and that he is definitely that soft, loving, but stern paternal figure almost to everybody. But at the same time, he isn't too afraid to kill off evil when it's absolutely necessary. And in this moment
the 86 movie kind of introduced being a Prime as something special in the series. In the first two seasons, really being a Prime didn't really mean anything. It was just his name, Optimus Prime. That was just a name. So, but the 86 movie introduced the matrix of leadership and established being a Prime as being something special among Transformers. As like as kind of a rank.
Okay, is
when he
that a good or bad thing in your opinion?
The leadership, and then the next person becomes the one he passes it to becomes the next Prime. And of course, that's something the future iterations of Transformers have all stuck with, that being a Prime is kind of something special. And of course, Transformers 1 definitely adhered to that.
Yeah. Very quickly, do you think that was a good or bad movie on their part, as far as them making the Prime
definitely it kind of made the mythology of the series a bit more deep.
Okay, fair.
It kind of makes Optimus Prime special. He is ultimately the hero of the series. He's the most powerful and the one all the other Autobots look up to. So it kind of makes sense that he would have been bestowed something special. And also the name, his original name being Orion Pax before he's renamed originally by Vector Sigma as Optimus Prime, also kind of dates to the original series.
Okay. Was that revealed in some season after the G1 movie or before the G1 movie?
I think that was in the second season. I could be wrong about that. I'm very sure it was it was in season 1 where they travel back in time and they meet kind of a lowly robot named Orion Pax. And it's kind of then revealed at the end of the episode that he's actually Optimus Prime before he became Optimus Prime.
Gotcha. Another thing that really attaches me so well to the first movie is the soundtrack as well. I mean, Linkin Park,
quintessential 80s. I love that, no doubt.
Linkin Park being paired with Transformers was a fair, actually, I will say solidly good artistic choice on the part of Michael Bay. As much as he gets wrong with his directing, using Linkin Park for his soundtrack was a fair choice in my opinion. But the 80s soundtrack still far outdoes it. And I don't think any other movie has had quite as iconic of a soundtrack as Bayformers movies and
there was
the
also
80s
a tribute
movie.
to that in Bumblebee, where you hear them playing songs in the background that came from the '86 movie.
I guess, you know what? Damn it. I think I'm going to put that on my Christmas list now. I want a copy of Bumblebee, my family.
Oh, I thought Bumblebee was really good. Travis Knight directed it, the same guy who made Koba and the Two Strings. And I think he really made the best Transformers movie with Bumblebee. And I love that he actually was picked now to direct the live-action He-Man Masters of the Universe. And I honestly think he's probably the best person possible they could have picked.
Who are they going to have playing as He-Man? Chris Evans? Chris Hemsworth?
I don't know. Speaking of Chris Hemsworth, I wasn't too much of a fan of his portrayal. I really think Peter Cullen should continue to voice Optimus Prime and everything until he's gone.
Sure. And on the point of Chris Hemsworth and Optimus Prime, I do say that the character arc of Optimus Prime is pretty competitively good in comparison to the 80s movie. But my thing is that by the end of the movie, we do not get to see a whole heck of a lot of what the Optimus Prime that we would eventually come to know and love, that being this paternal, but also...
Well, I didn't mind that because this movie is about his origins. I mean, they're planning... Well,
I mean, of course,
might not get made due to this movie's box office underperformance, but they're planning to explore that in the sequels. This movie is just about his origins, so I didn't mind that at all. I just was kind of annoyed that this movie takes a firm moral stance that executing the bad guy is bad, and I think that's stupid. I think that's a stupid moral dilemma. Oh, we can't kill the bad guy because if we kill him, he'll make us as bad as him. No, fucking kill him. He deserved it.
Okay, so you did not like that part of Transformers 1?
No, I mean, Sentinel Prime absolutely deserved it. He was a traitor. He betrayed his people to the Quintessons, and traitors deserve the death penalty.
I mean, I personally agree, and I guess that's the one thing that they were trying to and that might actually be a knock on the representation of Optimus Prime in this iteration. Whereas Optimus Prime in the 80s movie, he wasn't too hesitant to kill the ultimate evil of that time, that being Megatron in that movie. But on Transformers 1, I guess that's a part of the reason as to why that they did it was so that you could like almost equally sympathize with both sides. Megatron being, we need to put down evil, and you'd be like, here. Whereas Optimus Prime, you just he's such a lovable figure to where that he's so hesitant to want to kill anybody, including dictators, and maybe that there's like some likability with that, even if it's like a slightly kind of pussy-ish, I guess. But and I thought it still works for the duology of the movie, which that was something that I thought this movie was definitely going for, was which one do you side with best? I mean, obviously they want you to side with Optimus Prime ultimately, because Megatron still becomes a ruthless bad guy going towards the end. But, and also on that point, actually, I thought Megatron was probably the best character in the whole movie.
I thought so too. I kind of liked his arc of going kind of from a reluctant, the arc of it starting the characters off as friends and then slowly building to them as enemies. Actually, was pretty decent. You kind of just see him be, but I kind of think it would have been better if he'd like been slowly like corrupted by the spark of Megatronus. Would have been better, because in like the original, Megatronus becomes the Fallen, and it could have been like an evil character, and that kind of more corrupted him. But they didn't really go with that in this version. They just kind of have him just justifiably pissed at Sentinel, and thus the Optimus decides for some reason that's bad. But why? Sentinel kind
And
of
to
totally deserves
get in his way
it.
and
Huh?
take the bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I think that as much as if I was in Optimus's shoes, even if I was to think that Sentinel doesn't deserve the death penalty, he definitely is not somebody who I would think be worth taking a life for. Excuse me, taking a bullet for. Excuse me.
No, what the hell did he deserve to take a bullet for him? Yeah, like he was betrayed. He was betrayed his people.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I definitely
That
liked
moral dilemma kind of just annoyed me about this movie. It was dumb.
I also want to say that even though you have criticisms with Chris Hemsworth, which I think are fair, even if I might slightly disagree with them, you got to like admit that Brian Tyree Henry, that he did a great job voicing Megatron. There was like even some points
I
of where
thought he did a pretty good job.
There was even some points of where that I heard him, especially in the later parts of the movie when he becomes more and more evil, where it sounded like he was doing a fairly decent like Frank Welker impersonation for the part of Megatron. So that was
I thought so as well. I mean, and they got Steve Buscemi as Starscream in this movie. Obviously, the actor who originally voiced Starscream, he died a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, if anybody had to voice Starscream, it would have to be I guess who else would you get but Steve Buscemi? I mean, I guess we could have Andy Serkis pick up the part and do his Gollum impersonation for the part, but still.
Yes, I guess he wasn't bad.
Yeah, no, I did not think so. Who I thought was bad though was Keegan Michael Key as, let's just call him this Bumblebee, even though he wasn't technically called Bumblebee in this movie.
Yeah, I wasn't. I didn't care for that. And some of the humor also kind of annoyed me, and I think that was a big problem with why this movie didn't do very well. Is the marketing overplayed that humor?
Yeah, exactly. It's like as if oh god, what was the production team for Transformers 1? Was it Warner Brothers?
No,
Or
it was
Paramount? Oh, Paramount. It's almost like Paramount got the marketing team from Illuminations in to help with the marketing. So
yeah. For some reason, it works for Illumination, but it didn't work here.
I mean, I really hope that they paid them super duper cheap for the marketing, even though it's kind of doubtful because the marketing, or excuse me, the production budget was at least 90 million on the low end.
The production budget was 75 million, but I'm not sure what the marketing budget was. Which, since it only made 130 million, the movie's definitely lost at least like $30 million at the box office. It might make back that in streaming, but I don't know.
75. Yeah, you're right. 75 is the low end. The high end is 147 million as far as
that's probably goes. with the marketing. That's probably total with the marketing. But since it made less than that and they have to split money with the theaters, yeah, I lost at least $30 million.
Ouch. Yeah, that's a real pity. Too bad that I mean, no confirmation that they did get the marketing team from Illumination Studios to help with their marketing, but if they did do that, well then that was worst decision ever.
Yeah. Because this movie needed to make like $200 million just to break even.
Okay.
And it definitely didn't even come close to that. So, yeah, it is a flop. Well, I was kind of worried with it coming out only a week before The Wild Robot that it would the year, but The Wild Robot ended up making like twice as much money.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought that Wild Robot was going to be the underdog, but no, that's quite the opposite.
Yeah,
I guess people are getting more burnt out on that Illuminations type production and humor more than we would have thought.
Well, who had the better trailers? The Wild Robots trailer was like 1,000 times better than the first trailer for this movie.
Right.
And clearly, the box office receipts bear that out.
One thing that I did think that was okay, so we mentioned Bumblebee not being funny. Like, I just kept on thinking to myself, shut up. And I even like vocally out loud said, shut up. And I think of one of the boys behind me thought I might have been like talking to them or something, because honestly, the boys that were behind me in the movie theater, they were talking way too fucking much. So, I mean, they needed to shut up too, but I wasn't directing my shut up.
Well, you should tell them to shut up then. These kids need to learn some goddamn manners. Don't talk in a movie theater.
They do, but I think I got a kick in the back of my seat because I was saying "shut up."
Oh,
Whether they thought,
man, fuck those little brats. Fuck them kids.
or maybe it was an accident, I'm not sure, but still, Bumblebee annoyed the fuck out of me. Whereas Bumblebee was a one-line wisecracking humor machine for the boys behind me. It's all like, you freaking immature. I don't know. But anyway, there was one joke, however, that did actually get me. And again, I was the only one in the entire theater to laugh at this. And that was the line of where that bee was all like, "Oh, isn't this so exciting? I get to work for the government." The only joke that actually got a laugh out of me from Bumblebee. Hello?
Right.
Oh, okay. But aside from that, worst character of the whole movie. What are some other bad things that we can say about Transformers One, since we're on cons about the movie?
Those are mostly all the cons I had. I thought I would have greatly preferred Peter Cullen come back. I thought Optimus Prime wanted to take a bullet for Sentinel was a stupid plot point, and some of the humor, particularly with Bumblebee's character, were grating. And those are pretty much my only complaints. Other than that, I thought this was good. I've always wanted a Transformers movie that was just completely a computer animated movie with no human characters about the origins of this conflict, and we finally got one. And overall, not a perfect movie, but pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Definitely will probably want to own a physical copy, actually. One other con that I just reminded myself about, I thought that Alita's arrogance got kind of grating on occasion. And oh, here's another thing. Shockwave was made too much into a pussy, especially going towards the end of the movie. But then again, I'm kind of used to the Transformers Prime interpretation of Shockwave, of where that he was a
kind of like this mad scientist. I love that version.
Oh, yeah. Like, he does not let himself get pushed around at all by Starscream or anyone. And then to see this iteration of Shockwave get pushed around by a female who he doesn't even know. I mean, hasn't barely even seen her in combat at all. And yet he's just all, as soon as okay. So he says, "Why should we take orders from you?" Alita just like punches her palm and he's all like, "We'll take orders from you." It's like face palm, hard face palm.
Yeah, I didn't like that either. What else? And I also like that showed kind of the beginnings of kind of the very strained relationship between Megatron and Starscream. The fact, like in the original show, it was kind of a running gag that Starscream was the worst second in command ever. Literally every time Megatron got a scratch on that show, Starscream was like, "Well, I guess now I'm leader of the Decepticons."
Yeah.
And you always wonder, why the fuck does Megatron keep this guy around who double crosses you every time he gets the chance?
And I guess the origin reason why is because he was the original leader of the Decepticons, or the High Guard, as they were called originally.
Yeah, but even so, would you really, if you're running like a military operation, you want a second in command who you reasonably think was loyal to you, and somebody who does nothing but try to betray you and is very open about it constantly seems like a very bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the one anime Transformers series or past the first episode anyways. I cannot remember what it's called. Fights for the Minicons, something like that. It had something to do that centered around the Minicons, and it was anime. And I remember at least hearing reviews about how that had one of the stronger interpretations of Starscream, where that Starscream was a loyal soldier, and the only reason why he betrays Megatron is because he got legitimately screwed over consistently by him, not because he was a power-hungry weasel like he's interpreted as being most of the time in all the series, like Transformers Prime and otherwise.
Well, you have to remember the target audience. Ultimately, this was a children's show, and children often have really petty fights with each other for little to no reason. So kids could relate to these robots also having petty fights with each other for little to no reason.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it is. You watch even a children's show like you watch G.I. Joe from the time as well. I recently rewatched it as an adult for the first time, and I always noticed the adult characters, they talk less like adults actually do, and more the way kids think adults talk.
How similarly do they act like the characters do in Guardians Volume 3?
Kind of similar without the cussing and the sexual innuendos.
Okay, gotcha.
So, yeah, but that's kind of how it is, because of course it's made for children. And also, it's a ridiculous interpretation of how war works, where a whole bunch of really expensive military equipment's always blown up, but no one ever dies.
Yeah.
Robot Chicken had a hilarious parody of that, where they had the G.I. Joe's Wall of Fallen Heroes, and there are no names on it because no one's ever died. And they're like, "Hey, well, didn't Ted recently get shot down behind enemy lines?" And he's like, "No, I'm fine. I parachuted to safety."
Yeah. Typical kids series shenanigans. It's kind of one of the problems that I have with I don't want to get too much off on a tangent, but it's kind of one of the things that I have with Avatar, the original cartoon series, is because they just seem so pussyfooting on when to actually kill anybody.
I don't know. I agree with that on Avatar, because it begins with a genocide of Aang's people.
Well, I agree Aang shouldn't be a killer, but all the side characters, especially in the final battle of the whole series, going practically out of the way to make sure that they do not kill anybody at all. It's like, that's unrealistic.
Right. Well, I'll defend Tarkin. I don't think it showed the war with no stakes where no one died there, though. I think they do show people dying on that show, even if none of them.
Yeah, there's Jet and a few others as well, but just none of the grunts get even fade away, stabbed or anything like that. In the same way that Star Wars: The Clone Wars would.
It couldn't have a whole bunch of violence. It was a Nickelodeon show. They probably did it as intense as they could to stay with Nickelodeon violence limits.
Okay, and I guess Cartoon Network is a little bit more loose with their on how much violence that they'll allow or not.
Right.
Which was where that Star Wars: The Clone Wars was originally aired back in the day, to my knowledge, anyways.
Well, George Lucas can get away with a lot more than most people can.
Right. He's like one of the godfathers of Hollywood, being the man and the mastermind behind Star Wars, the biggest franchise, one of the biggest franchises in all of media.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Transformers 1, kind of back onto that. You mentioned the animation. The animation was absolutely gorgeous in this movie.
Yeah, it was good.
It was almost similarly, not quite as good, but still similarly about as good as The Wild Robot. And I think above all else, I liked the sense of scale with this movie. I watched it in the theater, and I was all like, wow, this is a big world. Especially when they gone underground, and showing Iacon City. And when they went to the surface and they showed the surface world, the far-ranging, spiky, tall mountains when they were on the hovering train thingy, the red skies from the sunset and all that stuff. It was just really, really pretty, undeniably so.
Oh yeah, I thought I definitely liked the animation. I think this only the third animated show, computer animated cartoon show of all time was a Transformers show. Remember Beast Wars?
Oh, that okay.
That
was the third ever series.
Yeah.
Huh?
But I'm saying, though, you can see so Transformers shows have been computer animated going back 28 years now. And you can definitely see a lot how the technology has evolved over time, looking at various different computer animated Transformers shows. And now we got this one, which is a much more solid budget and, beautiful imagery.
Beast Wars was the third ever animated in general, or computer animated?
Computer animated series. The first was Reboot. And the second was Donkey Kong Country, and the third was Beast Wars Transformers.
Okay. Definitely will have to give that a watch. Of course, I'm still trying to finish up Transformers Prime.
You didn't watch that as a kid, man? It was awesome. I watched that as a kid all the time.
Well, my family did not have that many channels. We only had the very basic bare minimum of cable that just allowed PBS Kids and whatever Disney Channel was playing on Saturday mornings and nothing more than that. There was a brief time where we had satellite, but that wasn't very long.
Well, and it was actually that one was actually in continuity with the original '80s series, but it's kind of both a sequel and a prequel because it's like has future iterations of the Transformers, but also they travel back in time to like prehistoric Earth.
Oh, Beast Wars. That's the one with the very early like CG animation.
Yeah, from 1996.
Okay, I believe I might have seen like bits and pieces of an episode way back in the day, but outside of that, I haven't seen it in its entirety.
Yeah, it actually was a bit better show than the '80s show, and for one kind of very good reason. Remember how I said that often with the original show that they would often introduce characters who would kind of like save the day, do something cool, and never be seen again. You had much less of that in Beast Wars because each kind of like character model with early computer animation was difficult to render. So they had to be very limited in how many models they could make. And having a limited number of characters kind of forced them to develop the characters they got. So the characterization of each individual character was stronger than in the original show.
Cool. I mean, that's quite adept of them to turn something of a low resources situation into an actual quality storytelling element.
Yeah. And obviously the computer animation in today's level looks pretty shitty, but it gave it a novelty at the time since back in the 90s, computer animated TV shows were rare. Today they're the norm, but in the 90s, the vast majority of shows all the kids grew up with were hand drawn. And so this show being computer animated made it very new and different.
All right. And I know that we're kind of all over the place, but I wanted to mention Sentinel Prime. Like, Sentinel Prime was another strong part of Transformers 1.
Yeah.
Like, he was just so fucking scummy. Like, the portrayal of him, the voice acting, and everything just portrayed him in the most pinnacle representation of a relatively young, Weasley, cowardly politician type of figure.
Yeah, I liked his characterization. He was a very good villain. Someone who pretends to be the savior of his people, but of course, in reality, he's a backstabbing scumbag who's selling his people out.
Who knows? Maybe that's kind of prophetic with Donald Trump.
Yes, yes, he's pretending to be the savior, but he's like then selling shit to Putin or something behind the scenes. Who knows?
But kind of get off of weave off of politics. The only other interpretation of Sentinel Prime that I know of is from Dark of the Moon. Like, I haven't seen him represented at all in Transformers Prime, and I've only watched the first episode of Transformers Animated. But like, where else is Sentinel Prime portrayed in?
I believe he's in the original show, but it wasn't like that really noteworthy of an appearance.
All right.
Yeah, I think in the third season, actually.
So, arguably
the third
so.
Season kind of follows immediately after the events of the movie, and it's set in the future of 2006.
Wow.
20 years, which was 20 years in the future from when it aired.
Kind of a Back to the Future type of situation. Of where
You're
that
saying
everybody's
with
making
time,
the memes.
What is once the future, it becomes the past. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess Sentinel Prime was kind of a villain leadership figure for the G1 series after the death of Optimus.
Yeah, it makes you think like when we started this stream, that was the present, but now the beginning of the stream is the past for us now. God damn. Time.
Right. But about my question about Sentinel.
Honestly, I haven't watched it in a long time, so I probably would have to rewatch it to remember.
All right. So I guess it's kind of safe to say that Transformers 1 probably has even though it's the scummiest and most hateable portrayal, it's still like the best portrayal of Sentinel Prime as far as how he services the story.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, his motivation in Dark of the Moon made no fucking sense. Like, you were told that he wants human slaves to help rebuild Cybertron. What the hell could human slaves possibly do for an advanced society that any transformer couldn't do themselves like a gajillion times faster?
Right. I mean, just turn every single crock pot, toaster, and every other bit of machinery on Earth into a mini transformer that'll work its circuitries to a smoldering, blackened out husk to rebuild Cybertron on Earth.
It was a dumb motivation that only made sense if you're a fucking idiot like the screenwriters of that movie were.
Yeah.
Imagine being in the writer's room when that movie was being written. Duh, we make movie. Pfft, we make movie.
I will say one thing of quality about the Bayformers movies is that the special effects, even in today's standards, is pretty good. Even if I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, the special effects were always good, but even then, the cinematography often sucked, and so did the character designs. The scenes aren't very entertaining. It looks like I'm just watching two junkyards having sex.
Reminds me of this one meme that I saw of where that it goes showing the different types of art styles of the Transformers, and with the G1 series, it's just a whole bunch of colorful boxes, and because that's how blocky that the animation and art style of that series is, and then it has a picture of the Bayformers, and right next to it, it shows a giant old cluttered up junk pile. I mean, yeah, effectively that is what it looks like. It looks like a anthropomorphic junk pile, but at least it still looks like it's actually there. Not something that you can really say much praise about a good chunk of modern day MCU movies, of where that something looks so obviously fake, you just get sucked out of the moment.
I mean, the earlier ones definitely do look dated, but they still hold up pretty well visually. I mean, a lot of
Oh
the
no,
shots.
I wasn't trying to talk about Iron Man. Like the first Iron Man and its special effects with the Iron Man suit still holds up.
I mean, like the
I'm
original
talking about.
Transformers movie. I mean, the scene, effect shots there took like 15 hours to render per frame per processor. So yeah, they still hold up pretty well.
Right. I know another thing. Um, all over the place here again. But another thing that I actually liked about Revenge of the Fallen was the force fight scene between Optimus versus the other three Transformers. I know that he kind of, it seems just a little bit out of character of where that Optimus Prime is all like, weak, puny waste of metal, junkyard crap. But it's still got like a campy element to him.
In the moment, it makes sense that he'd be kind of like pissed and would just be like, "Fuck you guys."
Yeah, and I do gotta say, in all honesty, it does seem kind of impractical. A lot of the moves do. Like there seems to be like so many open opportunities for Optimus to just stab Megatron directly in the face, and but no, apparently he just keeps on doing flesh wounds on all the other Transformers until like he finally decides to tear apart the one big brutish Decepticon's face in two.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even though it's fun to watch, it's still like rather stupid and unrealistically executed.
Oh yeah, that whole movie is just a mess. I couldn't stand more all that time with Sam's parents in the stupid movies. I mean, why? Nobody buys a ticket to a Transformers movie to hear Sam's parents whining about shit.
Yeah. It was rather annoying, and that's one thing that I actually
like. The third one, it wastes how much time on Sam's job interviews. We don't care about Sam's job interviews.
Although I do gotta ask, out of fairness, that one part of where that he gets interviewed by the one guy who hears that he got his certificate or degree or whatever from Obama, and he's all like, "Well, we're a Republican-ran establishment." I mean, was that a fairly funny joke to you, or no?
No, it wasn't funny. It was lame, and I'm like, "Fuck this movie." I am bored out of my mind here. I want to see This movie's called Transformers. It's not called Sam Witwicky's Job Interviews.
Fair point, I guess. Yeah, definitely something that I mentioned before of how weak that they portray the interactions between all the Transformers. I mean, I guess in the 2007 movie, there was a little bit of that shown, but another thing that really puts the 86 movie above a lot of the lineup, especially the Bayformers movies, is that it does actually give some rather bantery, fun interactions between all the Transformers, like between Cup and Hot Rod, for example, and everyone else on the junk planet.
Yeah, I'll give it that. And the whole opening sequence with Unicron swallowing that planet, for 80s animation, that was really cool.
Another thing that I wanted to mention, speaking of interactions, you mentioned the Witwicky parents being really freaking annoying. One thing that I mentioned originally about what I liked about Rise of the Beasts, I don't think I mentioned on the last live stream we talked about the movie, was that I really liked the interactions between crap, I forget the main character's name. The one Hispanic dude who ends up wearing the suit by the end of the movie. He and his little brother and also his girlfriend, those are like more well dignified. Although at the same time, there was the Twizzlers guy. You remember the Twizzlers guy from Rise of the Beasts?
Twizzlers guy, shit.
He was kind of the comic relief black guy who like sets up Noah. I think that's his name, the main character who sets up Noah to try and card.
Oh yeah. The guy at the beginning in the car. Yeah.
He was like, I definitely felt a whole lot of the Michael Bay-esque kind of humor with the.
Yeah, I did too, and which is why I didn't like Rise of the Beast as much as I like Bumblebee or even Transformers 1, which annoyed me a little bit, but I still overall liked Rise of the Beast much more than any of the Bay movies.
Right. I mean, yeah, I agree.
I think Peter Cullen in that movie still shows he's got good chops, still got good pipes, because I still thought he voiced the hell out of Optimus Prime even on the wrong side of 80. Scourge, I will make this planet your grave.
Okay, so you did not think that was particularly out of character of Optimus to be all like, I'm going to take Scourge's key and then take off his head.
Not at all. I mean, Scourge was an agent of Unicron. Scourge deserved it. Not at all.
Okay.
All right. Scourge. All right. Keep in mind, he's a Prime, a disciple of Primus. Or Unicron was Primus's direct enemy. It makes sense that he would have nothing but blood-curdling hatred for a servant of Unicron.
Sure. And also after killing one of his friends, Bumblebee.
Oh yeah, no vengeance. And with a friend of his dead, he'd be out for blood. He'd be out for revenge. Like in the cartoon show Transformers Prime from 2010, there's a whole great sequence at the end of the first season where after one of the human kids gets almost killed by Megatron, and Megatron, of course, has no remorse. He's like, I swatted an insect. That really pisses Optimus Prime off, and he's like, despite mentioning that they were once friends, I'm like, I'm going to end the scourge of him once and for all. And he's like that close to killing him. They have a massive battle, and he's got Megatron on the ground. And he's like, this is Megatron. It can't be how it ends. And Optimus is like, on the contrary, I can't see it ending any other way. And he's like right about to kill him, and then some circumstances save Megatron.
Yeah, I think that was the further awakening of Unicron in that series. And that's what I really love about Transformers Prime is the way that it paces and develops Optimus Prime. Like within the first few episodes of the first season, he's shown to be a little bit more on the pacifistic side of where that he doesn't really want to kill Megatron. And then eventually circumstances, like you said, develop of where that he's all like, okay, yeah, I got to kill my arch enemy now.
Yeah,
and,
that was the last fucking straw kind of deal. So I didn't mind it at all in Optimus Prime wanting to kill Scourge in Rise of the Beast. I thought it was completely within his character. I thought it was, if anything, out of character to want to take a bullet for an enemy of him, for someone who betrayed his people,
or for him to say, "Sam Witwicky, put the Allspark in my chest," instead of in Megatron's chest.
Well, I just think he didn't think that putting it in Megatron's chest was a possibility because, yeah, I don't think he thought that Megatron would really be stupid enough to allow him to do that.
But he was all like, Sam, no! Just as Sam, like, well, okay, I guess there is.
Because he was not because he was worried about saving Megatron. He was worried about Sam getting killed.
Okay, yeah, right as I said that line, that thought popped into my head. But I still thought that there was like some lines. I mean, I could be remembering it wrong, but I thought there was
Even
some
then, he
lines in
was like, when
Transformers
Megatron's
2000.
dead, he's like, "You gave me no choice, brother." So there's some level of remorse, even though he knew it was what needed to be done.
All right, fair point. One thing that I definitely love about Transformers Prime more than the Bayformers movies is its portrayal of Starscream.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, definitely. In fact,
Like,
the Starscream of Transformers Prime is easily my favorite version of the character. I like that they still keep him as somebody who betrays the Deceptic of Megatron when it was convenient to him. So that aspect isn't there. But he's also not a fucking idiot who just blatantly says, "Oh, I'm going to betray you soon." And Megatron's like, "Yeah, sure."
oh, is that how they portrayed him in the G1 series?
Yeah. Here, when he does so, one, there's actual consequences, as Megatron was like about to kill him afterwards, and he eventually goes rogue for a while. And then he basically has to and he has to go through a whole massive arc to get back in Megatron's good graces later in the series. So
Yeah.
it actually made a long arc out of it instead of just having it happen and then everyone forgets about it.
I do have to say, I'm only like halfway through season 3, so I don't want any spoilers for the later half of that season.
I watched that whole show when it aired. Good show, good cartoon.
Yeah, it is. It's great. It's great by what I'm seeing so far. Yeah, like freaking Starscream in the Bayformers movie, he was such a bland character, such a bland portrayal of
pretty much not a
Starscream
character
in
at all.
series.
Pretty much,
Yeah, not a character at all. Like he was just another soldier for the Decepticon side. He wasn't even attempting really to betray Megatron. I mean, there was like a littlest bit of showing of that in the Revenge of the Fallen series, of where that Megatron is like incapacitated for a while, and so he had to take command, and then Megatron kind of knees him in the face and chokes him out a bit. But after that, we don't see anything of him trying to usurp Megatron after that moment. No other moment like that.
But you have to remember, though, I mean, if you wasted a bunch of time developing Starscream as a character, we wouldn't have had as much time to spend on Sam's mom getting high.
Right. That's the most important.
That's a much bigger priority. I'm Michael Bay. I'm a great filmmaker.
And not to mention to see Despitz or whatever the college roommate character of Sam like freaking out about the most littlest of shit, acting like a giant pussy.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, giving a movie camera to Michael Bay is like giving a loaded gun to a chimpanzee. No good can come of it.
Yep. I will say there is one criticism that I have with Transformers Prime, aside from the fact that the animation is kind of rough around the edges. Not gonna lie.
Man, it was made for only $800,000 an episode 14 years ago, so good as they could do with the budget they had.
I guess. But one other thing that I was going to mention was, of where that there's the multi-episode arc of where that they're trying to find the I cannot remember what they're all called, but they're trying to find the artifacts in season 2. And then there's the one episode of where that Bulkhead, he ends up having to go toe-to-toe with 3 Insecticons simultaneously, also while he's also getting radiated by the toxic energon. And then after that episode, he's severely injured, like he almost dies. Following episodes, he's like limping. And there's like this one part at the end of an episode of where that Bulkhead, he just kind of grumpily and silently walks down the hallway, also while Miko is trying to encourage him, trying to get his attention so that, so as to encourage him, but it's not working. And I thought in that moment that we were going to have like a dark or kind of semi-villainous arc of Bulkhead, of where that he starts to become more and more jaded and jealous, and maybe he even like abandons the Autobots completely at some later episode. But no, it's almost like that they completely forgot about that and did not develop it anymore. That just like there was a bit of missed potential in that little arc, I thought. But I guess they wanted to focus on trying to wrap up the war as a whole, with the arc of them trying to reborn Cybertron, only for that to fail because, you know, Autobots stopped Decepticons' plan to make Earth into a second Cybertron or anything else like that. But still.
Yeah, that was a noble sacrifice of Optimus here. He gives up his hope to restart his home world, prevent Megatron from destroying Earth. You know that it shows kind of all the goodness of Optimus Prime as a character. Freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
Excuse me if my memory is like serving me not too well in this point, but is that a line that is actually primarily in the Transformers Prime series?
That line's dates back all the way to the original show.
Okay, never mind.
It's that in the Bay movie too. Freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
Which Bayformers movie did he say that in?
The first one.
Oh, okay.
Freedom is that's like his philosophy, and there always kind of was there always was a bit of a political message to Transformers. There's a reason why Optimus Prime is colored red, white, and blue, because he was meant to represent America, whereas the Decepticons were meant to represent the Soviet Union.
Cool. You know, speaking of political allegories, I don't know. I haven't like seen many videos explicitly talking about this. Well, you know, I'm just gonna shut up because I don't know about that. I was about to say that
common in '80s cartoons. I mean, GI Joe was even more blatant, like the original, the song that they fight for freedom against Cobra, the enemy. GI Joe is there. GI Joe.
By the way, speaking of G.I. Joe, have we ever seen any other iteration of either G.I. Joe or Transformers try to merge the two franchises together outside of that of the original 80s series and Rise of the Beasts? Because I'm not so sure
really,
we have.
But supposedly they're planning on, Hasbro says they're working on a crossover, but I don't know if that's going to actually get made.
Yeah, because, I mean, maybe they should get humble and make an
actual. Both series would always have their characters star in these great little PSAs. But now they always like teach kids various lessons.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, they'd always like usually have a kid doing something stupid like, no, that train's coming. We can beat it. We're the best. And then the little GI Joe or Transformer would all of a sudden stop them. Kids, you should never try to outbeat a train. Something bad could have happened. You could have gotten hit. What? Wow, I'm sorry I tried to do that. Now I know, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe.
I feel like that's something that just as easily Optimus Prime could have done as well, because Optimus is already like pretty much portrayed as a paternal figure for kids, or especially little boys, to look up to.
Yeah, or some. What's always kind of funny though is like they'd always have either like the Transformers or G.I. Joe, just always like it just in the right place whenever these kids would screw up in order to give them this advice that they need. You should if there's like a dog out there and it growls at them, the Transformer will come between them. You should never go up to a stray dog you don't know. You could have gotten hurt. Wow, I'll never do that again. Now I know, and knowing is half the battle.
Yeah.
Those were great 80s cheese. I love those.
So, what would you say is actually your favorite Transformers series?
I'd say overall Prime. Yeah, Prime.
Okay. It's like the one that I've seen the most of, so the only one that I've seen a good large chunk of, in fact, for that matter. So definitely can't argue against it.
Prime's probably the best show overall. The original was great, was fun 80s cheese, but you know, I don't know exactly how well it holds up today. I enjoyed it as a kid, though.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be blinded by nostalgia enough to not to see that it definitely was flawed.
So you would say that it's better than Beast Wars, Transformers Prime is?
Yeah, I'd definitely say so.
Have you ever seen the one Transformers series that's called simply Transformers Animated?
No, I haven't watched that one.
Okay, I've only seen the first episode, and apparently the way that they portray Optimus, or at least at first, anyways, is that he's like a minor. So pretty much taking, I can see of where that Transformers One took a page out of the playbook of. They took it out of Transformers Animated, of where that Optimus Prime. I think he's called Optimus Prime in this series, whereas in Transformers One, he's called Orion Pax. But regardless, he starts out as a minor, not really a leader of all Autobots.
Which
And
kind of is dumb because the whole point of of him becoming Optimus Prime, the whole point of Primus bestowing the honor of being a Prime onto him was the fact that he thought he was worthy of being a leader.
I'll definitely have to restart episode 1 and then watch it from there, because it's only like I'd only be just restarting one episode.
Even though I know that wasn't part of the original show, but that kind of became part of the mythology, mostly from Transformers Prime, and of course the new series new movie Transformers One takes that mythology, and I'm glad they did. I've always liked it.
Yeah,
the Quintessons kind of were important because the original show kind of implies that they were the Transformers creators, which in the third season, but when they're introduced, they're introduced in the movie, but the third season mentions them as the Transformers creators. But the first season says Vector Sigma. I'm sorry, the second season said Vector Sigma created them, which is a little contradictory, but I guess you can reconcile those.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be like any real super duper consistency with iterations of the Transformers. I mean, for the most part, they'll take one key element of each character and adapt it into each of their appropriate series. Well, with the exception of the Transformers anime, Starscream is always a weasel that is trying to backstab Megatron and take over the Decepticons. Megatron is always a 100% spine, nothing but courage, not so much on the brain side, a brute of a dictator leader. Optimus Prime is always a paternal wise figure for everyone to look up to, and pretty much the toughest of all the Autobots, really. And Bumblebee, well, as much as we like to rag on Michael Bay for his portrayal of Transformers, we can all credit him for at least given a new interpretation of Bumblebee that everybody feels rather nostalgic and liking of, and that being he's just this kind of quiet, shy guy.
Well, yeah, it kind of Bay introduced the idea of him having his voice box ripped out so that he was like the mute character, which obviously Transformers Prime kind of took and made that their interpretation of him.
Yeah, I definitely see. It's like that they copy pasted the design of Megatron and Bumblebee and even Optimus Prime into that series.
Well, yeah, it definitely was based. It was based on the Bay movies in terms of its designs, but obviously it did a much better job with them.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad though that they did not copy paste the design of Starscream. Like I always thought that the design for Starscream in the Bayformers movie was fucking ugly. It's like you make him this terrible stubby triangle with tiny little legs. It's like ugh.
Yeah, but it's amazing that the low budget show that was made for kids is much more. It has much more adult writing than the $200 million movies that were supposedly PG-13 made for adults.
And all it had to do was refrain from adult humor and crude humor, just overly
and have some consistency in the writing and actually develop your characters, stuff like that, and not just have a bunch of low angle shots of people going out of cards and shots of attractive women bending over.
Yeah, consistency. Like, even if you have like some almost childishly simplistic script of where that a knight has a dream to want to become a hero, and he ends up going off in a faraway land of rescuing a princess from a tower and a fire-breathing dragon or something like that. As long as you keep it like a simple A to B plot line, it's still ultimately more mature than the freaking contradictory cognitive dissonance, man-childish bullshit that Michael Bay has done in all of his movies.
I mean, if Bay just wants to like photograph attractive women, why the hell doesn't he? Didn't he just direct porn?
Right? I guess there's not as much money into that. It cannot make. I mean, sure, yeah, you can
There's
make
plenty of
some
money
money,
to
but
be
you
made
can't
in
make
that.
hundreds of millions of dollars and even $1 billion in some case.
I
He
mean,
just
a lot of porno directors make a lot of money.
Do they make $1 billion though?
I'm not sure.
I mean, exactly. So he's just greedy for money, I guess we can say. He wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to photograph attractive women and also make $1 billion while at it. So what does he do? He co-opts a popular franchise, that being Transformers, and makes them super action-packed and explosive.
They weren't really all that action packed. I mean, it wasted in the fourth movie. It wastes how much time discussing Texas statutory laws? Why the fuck is this in the movie?
Fair point.
Why is this a scene in the movie? Who can? I do not care about Texas statutory laws in a Transformers movie.
But then they overcompensated for that by having the longest, most mind-numbing action scene in the end of the movie, which to this day I'm still holding a grudge over.
Yeah, I had a bunch of shit blowing up in China. In between their scenes talking about how the authoritarian dictatorship they run, the rules there is super awesome.
Right. Out of curiosity, how much of Pointless Hub do you watch? YouTuber.
I think I may have seen him. I don't know that much.
He's done like of course I mentioned he's reviewed all the Bayformers movies. He has yet to review the 86 movie. Still kind of waiting on that. And he's reviewed a shit ton of Roland Emmerich movies, who is like the almost like, I don't know how you describe him. He's kind
Emmerich, since the dude's gay, we don't have all those pointless shots of attractive women.
Okay, so I guess that's how I'll frame him. He's the gay counterpart of Michael Bay.
Yeah. So we don't have to worry about that. We don't. I mean, I remember this one funny parody script. That,
wait, what do you mean don't have to worry about that? Are you gay? Why don't you want to see sexy women on screen? I
do want to see sexy women, but in a Transformers movie, I'd rather it be about the Transformers, not porn. If I want to see sexy women, I'll just go to Instagram.
No, I'm just joking with you.
Yeah, but there was a great joke of called "What if Michael Bay wrote The Dark Knight?" That was pretty funny. It has like the Joker recruiting terrorists in the Middle East, and Rachel Doss. It describes as you remember Batman's girlfriend in The Dark Knight. It says we pan to a platinum blonde with a huge rack. She's like the hottest woman in the world, but also wears glasses to show she's also the smartest woman in the world.
Because that's the stereotype. A woman with glasses is always smart.
And it spends like several pages that are just her lurching her sweaty, sexy body over the Batmobile to fix it because Batman can't figure out how to fix the Batmobile. So she just comes in and she fixes it, and the camera would lurch up her ass and she's fixing the Batmobile. I'm like, it's hilarious because that really does sound like what he would write if he directed a Batman movie.
And he would make Alfred into a dementia-riddled old fart.
Probably.
Instead of the calm, cool, collected, fairly wise figure that Michael Caine portrayed him as, or acted as.
Well, and there'll probably be a scene where Alfred finds like accidentally eats some pot brownies and then then runs around in his underwear all over the Batcave because
Oh,
hilarious
brother.
hijinks. Oh,
Oh, brother. That sounds terrible.
yeah, it would make Batman and Robin look like a masterpiece by comparison.
Indeed. So, I don't know if there was anything more that we wanted to say on Transformers.
Transformers One. What else is there to say about this movie? Eh.
It would
I
really
like
help
the design. The designs also were really well done. Like the design of the Quintessons, the design of the original Primes. All of that was really well done.
You know what? Now that you mentioned that, I think I can just imagine what a Transformers 2 would look like. With the Chris Hemsworth, the Brian Tyree Henry. Megatron, the movie would like open up with a skirmish between Autobots and Decepticons, and then at some midpoint after the first act, or excuse me, by the end of the first act, the Quintessence come back to Cybertron, demanding for Energon, and like halfway through the second act or something like that, Megatron and Optimus have to begrudgingly put aside their differences and form a temporary alliance to defeat the Quintessence as they become the ultimate bad guys of Transformers 2. And then maybe by the third one, they would bring in Unicron or something like that.
Well, I wouldn't want them to bring in Unicron into these prequel movies, but I think that actually sounds similar to the arc in Transformers Prime when like Megatron's willing to put his differences aside to like defeat Unicron. And I love the way that was characterized because it wasn't Megatron becoming a good guy there; it was him being a megalomaniac and not wanting anyone to usurp him. No, he didn't want another villain more powerful than him taking over.
Yeah, and on that note, actually, now you mention it, it's probably like a better execution of the character of Megatron than the way that they portrayed him in the 86 movie. Or I guess Galvatron, as he technically is, because at the third act of the movie, Galvatron is all like, regardless, we are allies against a common foe. And Unicron does the mind torture thing to him, is all like, destroy him, my servant, destroy him. He's all like, of course, my master. Whereas in Transformers Prime, Unicron does the same thing, tries to mind torture him to kill Optimus Prime, and Megatron, he ultimately shouts, I am no one's servant! Or whatever the exact line was.
Well, the exact line is, Megatron is ruled by no one!
Right, you're right.
And yeah, I like that because it actually strengthens him as a villain because even though he's technically on the side of right, he's doing it for his own selfish purposes.
Yep.
That's the mark of a good, intelligent, and well-written villain.
Yep.
Villains sometimes, well, you could view that like us teaming up with Stalin to defeat Hitler. It didn't make Stalin a good guy, but even if he was on the side of right in that particular moment.
Yeah. It's just smart writing all around. Like Starscream is a wild card. You do not know what exactly he's going to do next. Megatron is an unrelenting, steel-spined villain who lets nobody push him around. Soundwave is a silent, I don't know how you would describe him. But
compare that to him in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, where Megatron like immediately bows to the Fallen like in 10 seconds. Because that movie was a piece of shit written by imbeciles.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. When the very first time that I had watched Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, when I heard the line, my master, I have let you down. At first I thought it was like cutting to some other random Decepticon that was bowing to Megatron. But then a couple seconds later, I was like, wait, this is actually Megatron bowing to this tiki head looking Decepticon? That's weird.
Well, he wasn't the Fallen wasn't a Decepticon. He was a Fallen Prime, but still.
Yeah, tomato, tomato.
But yeah, absolutely, that was bullshit. That one of the many reasons why Michael Bay's movies are absolute trash.
Yep.
They're
Part
just
of
a
me,
bunch of blinking lights and random sounds and a bunch of shit flying everywhere. That since it's in front of a camera, technically qualify as a movie.
part of me almost feels tempted to maybe eventually want to do a scene by scene review of the three original movies. I don't know if I would have the heart to do the fourth one ever because it's just that soul sucking. At least the first three, you're right, they're absolutely stupid and they are, objectively speaking, bad movies, with maybe the exception of the first one and only the first one. But still, there's like still part of me that at least gets some ironic enjoyment with them. I mean, cool action sequences and all, and occasional fun moments with Simmons. Um, actually, no, never mind. What am I talking about?
Yeah. At least, I mean, at least unlike this movie, they have Peter Cullen voice Optimus Prime, because that was just a great piece of casting. Peter Cullen really made that character iconic.
Yep. I mean, Chris Hemsworth might be the next candidate to take up the mantle as soon as Peter Cullen kicks the bucket. But
I just don't think he's a worthy successor. I just don't think he doesn't have it, man. I'm sorry.
who would take the role of Optimus Prime?
I don't know, but I just don't think he has it.
Well, could be worse. They could have casted Chris Evans.
I will agree with what you said that Chris Hemsworth is a better Optimus Prime than Chris Evans was a Buzz Lightyear. I'll agree with you there.
Yeah, or Chris Pratt.
Yeah, no, no,
Can
no,
we
no,
just
no,
agree that Chris Hemsworth is the best Chris out of all the three Chris's?
no. Chris Pratt is. I like it. I think he seems like a cool dude.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I definitely like Chris Pratt better than Chris Evans. I mean, at least I guess
Hemsworth
there's
kind of sank his career because his wife's a feminist harpy, and she's kind of pushed him
Hemsworth.
into taking degrading, stupid roles.
Wait. Hemsworth?
Oh yeah, which is definitely. It's why his characters are either complete idiots or the embodiment of toxic masculinity. Pretty much all his characters the past 10 years that he's taken. Obviously, Thor is an older character when he was not as famous, so that doesn't count.
Really? I didn't know that Hemsworth was being kind of manipulated by a feminist wife or something like that.
Kind of is. I mean, that's really sad that you can be like one of the most desirable men on earth and still be under a woman's thumb. That's kind of depressing for all of us, isn't it?
Well, to be fair, have you ever seen Extraction?
No.
I mean, okay, then I would suggest go see it because that is a movie of where that Chris Hemsworth is the main character, and it's pretty much like a man's action film that's almost reminiscent of the 80s or 90s, or at least Jason Bourne, anyways. And it doesn't have a whole lot of feminist stuff. It's just
like in Ghostbusters Answer the Call, he plays this kind of like idiot man whore, and the jokes in that movie were so bad. Like where he like when he hears a bad sound and he covers his eyes, like terrible comedy.
right. I did forget that he plays as the himbo character in Ghostbusters 2016.
Yeah, yeah, he had such terrible comedy in that movie. His character was so annoying.
But the thing that I wanted to say is that Chris Pratt, definitely not as hateable as Chris Evans because Chris Evans is just plain mean spirited as a person. Like he fucking hates Trump supporters, like more than you, I think anyway. So kind of makes
Yeah.
him unlikable. So
No, yeah, Pratt seems like a cool dude. Everything I've heard about him, I've never heard any bad things about him.
no, but he thinks that homosexuality is a sin. Doesn't that make him a terrible person at that point?
I mean, no evidence he hates gay people. No
Yeah,
evidence.
I mean, I agree. There's no evidence of that, but because he like goes to a church that doesn't have a progressive a progressive view on Christianity. Therefore, he's a terrible person too. I guess.
People making that they're just losers.
I will say, in all fairness, there's actually one of my friends who actually says that he gives a reason as to why that he hates, or at least borderline hates, Chris Pratt, and that I guess there was some woman that he divorced because he thought he could go for a prettier wife instead.
I mean,
did you hear anything about that?
I don't know.
I mean, if that is like, I do not know if I believe the guy, especially his. I do not know if it's like an overly simplistic narrative that he's selling about how bad a guy that Chris Pratt supposedly is, but I don't know enough about it. But if that is a 100% true and accurate to the narrative, then that would make Chris Pratt about as bad of a personality as Chris Evans, in my opinion. But I don't. I will say, though, that I think that, I mean, as bad as Chris Evans is as Lightyear, Chris Pratt is worse as Garfield.
So, yeah, but Garfield was a shit movie regardless.
Yeah.
An absolutely terrible animated movie.
I guess overall, I just think that Chris Hemsworth is a better actor, better quality actor overall. Like, he plays a part of the Extraction guy pretty good. He's pretty much the embodiment of Thor nowadays. We can barely imagine anyone else being casted in the role. He did a pretty fluid job of voicing Optimus Prime, even though we would have preferred Peter Cullen still. Whereas Chris Pratt is really hit and miss with his voice acting, or his acting in general, I guess.
Yeah, I thought he was okay in the Jurassic World movies.
I guess.
Hey,
I mean, he was definitely
he got to like train velociraptors. I mean, that's pretty cool.
He's definitely one of the least bad things of the Jurassic World movies. I will give that.
Supposedly, he's not in the next installment. There's a new Jurassic World movie out in July.
Wow. Fucking stop!
No, as long as they make money, they're going to keep making them. In fact, next year is really loaded with like dinosaur-based products and series. They got a remake of Walking with Dinosaurs out next year. That's going to be awesome.
Speaking of genres of movies, kind of on the subject of video game-based movies, it kind of seems that video game-based movies are on a bit of a slump, especially what I hear about the Borderlands movie being badly reviewed.
I haven't even seen the Borderlands movie. The worst movie I've seen this year, at least in terms of like disappointment, was definitely Joker 2.
Right. I mean, that's a quasi superhero based movie, and superhero based movies have been
I've never
on
seen
a downturn anyways.
That seems to hate the audience of the previous movie the way this movie does. It really seems like this movie is a massive middle finger at the people who like the first one.
Sorry, what was that last thing again? I was searching something up.
I said the movie feels like a massive middle finger to the audience who liked the first one.
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, from what I go hearing and everything about it, it definitely does sound like the biggest middle finger of all time. I mean, can we really say that much about any of the MCU movies? Like, I mean, yeah, the MCU movies like take a middle finger at, I guess we could say at men to some extent or another with the over pandery feminist crap. But does it take like a middle finger at its own like fan base, like as badly as Joker 2 does?
To Joker 2. Joker 2 despises its audience, and it's really mean spirited because it really wants you to hate Arthur, and it is the message they're trying to convey that like mentally ill men should be hated on, deserve to be like treated like shit. That seems like a really awful message.
All right, fair point. Yeah, I guess there's a new standard to being hateful towards your own audience base. And in this example, you don't even have to be singling out. Well, okay, you did say that it feels like they're kind of singling out mentally ill people. So never mind. I take back what I said.
I really recommend the Despot of Altrium's review of it. His review was really funny. He's like, I've just surpassed 100,000 subscribers, and I'd just like to say to all my audience, fuck you! You thought this was going to be a review of how bad Joker 2 is? No, this is a review of how awful you are. Fuck all of you. And I'm going to keep, and that's what this whole video will be while I'm singing a bunch of jukebox musical songs. But I'm like, that's really funny because that's exactly how Joker 2 was. And even funnier though is a part where he found this Todd Phillips interview where he was actually bragging about the movie's budget and saying, "Well, why are people angry that the budget was so high when I'm helping and I got this much money out of the studio, and I'm helping like all the film crew like feed themselves." I'm like, fuck you, dude. Like, movie budgets are finite. The fact that you got the studio to waste this much money on this shitty movie just means another movie or another 2 or 3 movies won't get made because they wasted money on your crap.
Okay. So sorry, I'm looking at something still about video game based movies. This list on Wikipedia doesn't seem to include the Mario movie for some reason. I was kind of like about to like wonder about do you think that video game based movies are, even though that they had a little bit of improvement, a bettering of their reputation with the Sonic movies, Detective Pikachu, and the Mario movie, do you think that they're kind of about to slump back downward with Borderlands?
Just probably was just always going to be a disaster. There's a reason why only like $35 million was spent on the marketing. Like, they only put the bare minimum into it. There wasn't much spent on the marketing because when the marketers saw this movie, they knew it was going to be trash. They decided to just cut their losses.
The Borderlands movie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And of course, there's the upcoming Minecraft movie.
Which actually means it might lose less money overall than Joker 2 did, because between the budget and the $100 million spent on marketing, $290 million was wasted on that movie, and it made only like $200 million, so it probably will lose over $150 million.
I'm curious now. Wow. Okay. So the budget, yeah, only between 110, 120 million. Box office only 33 million. I will say that it's definitely cheaper than Joker 2, but damn, that's one of the lowest box offices I've seen in recent years. Sorry.
So probably lost less money just because there was a lot less spent on it.
Gotcha. Well, at the same time, Joker 2, didn't that make a little considerably more money though?
Yeah, it did, but it's still, because it costs so much more, it probably will have overall higher losses.
I thought it only cost about 200. Yeah, 200. Oh,
but 100 million was spent marketing, whereas with Borderlands, only like 30-something million was spent marketing it.
And then, oh yeah, I'm looking at the box office right now of Joker 2. Only 204.8 million in box office. That is disastrous.
Oh yeah, that means, like I said, more than $150 million was lost.
Okay,
Todd Phillips
about the math in my head. Yeah,
with this movie.
You know, I do gotta say this. You remember that one live stream that we did responding to Ben the Looney and his review of the first Joker movie?
Yeah,
and he was kind of ragging on Todd Phillips. Well, to give the guy some credit, I guess he wasn't all that wrong about how bad of a person that Todd Phillips was. I mean, if Todd Phillips is really that spiteful towards his own fan base, well then, yeah, I guess he's not that good of a dude, like Ben the Looney said.
No, definitely. No, he definitely is not that good of a dude. because I'm
We all
genuinely
gave him too much
baffled.
credit than he deserved.
Yeah, because I'm genuinely baffled at the tone that the sequel took, and not to mention it's just a really bad movie. The musical numbers are fucking boring. They're incredibly tedious to watch. I mean, just go to the bathroom whenever one of them plays, and because they're a total waste of time. And that makes up like a quarter of this movie at least.
The
And
movie itself just sounds like a giant waste of time.
and vast majority of the dialogue and scenes are just talking about the events of the previous movie. So it's really just the whole movie is a commentary on another far superior movie.
Right.
But it has nothing meaningful to say on it, other than I guess fuck you for liking it.
That is terrible. Yeah, can we even say that much about any MCU movie? It's almost like
No, none of them
DC,
are as bad as Joker 2. None of them.
yeah, DC movies, they get like a bad rap of being on average worse than MCU movies. Really, Joker 2 just exponentially increased that reputation of them. Whereas MCU movies, as bad and subpar that they might be nowadays, at least there's all the past ones to look forward to. And it's not like any MCU movie like tried to immediately undo what was done in the past, like Joker 2 did.
Yeah,
All's while flipping
how it
finger.
should have ended had a fun take on Joker 2. It has him and Lady Gaga's character in the mental ward. They're like, let's get out of here and go ransack the city. And he's like, I was gonna just stay here, wait for my trial, and daydream about a bunch of lame musical numbers. But that sounds much better. And the two of them like go out and they go on this massive crime spree. And there's like this parody song called Joker Face. Me, my Joker face.
That I actually would. That actually does sound fun.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better than the movie we got.
I don't know if I would like have it executed so that the characters themselves are singing it, but maybe it can like play in the background. Lady Gaga makes like a original song for said movie concept.
Joker Face, yeah. And Honest Trailers renamed the movie Arthur 2. Joke's on you.
Indeed. That sounds
Honest
pretty
Trailers,
fitting.
they always have the funniest retitling. I love them. I love when they renamed James Cameron's Avatar. They renamed it James and the Giant Preach. That's brilliant.
Named what? James and the Giant Preach?
Avatar.
Oh yeah, because James Cameron.
Yeah, James and the Giant Preach.
Wow. Have you like seen? I listen to these sci-fi essayists like Pilgrim's Past, for example, and even The Closer Look. Have you like seen their videos reviewing Avatar?
I'm not sure.
They have some very, very insightful reviews of the movie. I'll have to like link you them. Actually, I got them in a playlist.
Right.
Although I guess one of them kind of takes it a little bit more from, or at least I don't know. I don't know if he takes it explicitly from a Christian point of view, or if I'm just like mixing up his other content, because Pilgrim's Past, he is like solidly, and he kind of wears his Christianity on his shoulder a bit, although he's not as cringy as your typical like I don't know, Purity Flicks produced movie or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not like it would be that grating. But The Closer Look, he definitely is more on the secular side, and he gives like a review that I think that you would like. If I can find it. Oh, here it is. Which, by the way, speaking of Christian-based movies, I actually saw Jesus Revolution yesterday evening.
Uh-huh.
Of course, I don't know if it's much of a movie that you'd be interested in talking about. Although I will say there's one thing that would intrigue you about it. Kelsey Grammer plays in it.
That's cool.
Like Kelsey Grammer, the guy who voiced Stinky Pete and also played as
I know
Beast
who
from
Kelsey
X-Men.
Grammer is.
Right. Honestly, he gave one of the better performances in that movie. Aside from him and two other characters, most of the actors were pretty stiff. That seems to be like the pattern with a lot of more Christ-based movies. Although I thought it was like an overall okay film, even if the first act of the movie was kind of weirdly paced and did not have that well defined of stakes or tension for a movie to be worth watching.
Uh-huh.
But that's my opinion, anyways.
Yeah.
Another movie that I watched recently, actually about a month or so ago, was All Dogs Go to Heaven 2.
Why you watch that?
Because I want to remind myself exactly of why it was so bad.
Why waste your time on that shit, dude?
Well, because sometimes you gotta like refine your opinion about a movie. I mean, it's kind of hard to give an adult review of a movie if you only remember watching it with your child brain. Like a movie, for example, like Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo, I did not like it as much in my childhood as I do now as an adult, actually. Like, and even Monsters Inc., for example, there are like a lot of excellent things that I realize about that movie that I love and appreciate now more than when I watched it as a kid.
Nah.
But All Dogs Go to Heaven 2, honestly, like right off the bat, showing of how that they portrayed Carface, it was absolute garbage. Like they pussified him even worse. You know,
the whole
maybe
movie
this
is
is
absolute garbage.
Maybe this is a bit of a hot take to you, but I think that All Dogs Go to Heaven 2 might actually be worse than All Dogs Christmas Carol.
Maybe both are shit. So whatever.
At least the one demon cat villain was a more entertaining villain than Diana or whatever the freaking demon angel whatever dog character from All Dogs Go Christmas Carol was named.
I forget. I only saw that movie once in like 25 years ago.
It's been a few years for me, but I of course rewatched it obviously more than you. Another thing that was so bad about All Dogs 2 was of how out of sync the animation was with the voice acting.
It's a direct-to-video movie. They didn't have the budget. And Don Bluth had nothing to do with it, so Don Bluth wasn't there to direct the animation.
Right.
With that, why are you making a sequel to a Don Bluth movie without Don Bluth?
Because we got to have money.
Yes, exactly.
You know, I just realized recently. I realized that Tony Jay, the voice of Claude Frollo, actually voiced that guy. The guy who does the "we got to have money" meme.
Oh, Tony Jay was the voice of all kinds of villains and all kinds of cartoons. Half the cartoons on 90s Saturday morning TV had a villain that was either voiced by Tim Curry or Tony Jay.
Beata Maria, you know I'm a righteous man.
Yeah, well, he was also the voice of the main villain in Reboot, the first computer animated television show of all time. He was the voice of Megabyte, the main villain.
Reboot. That's a series that what's it about?
It's set inside a computer. It's basically the villain's a computer virus, and essentially the heroes are antiviral software. Seems like a silly premise, and they live in this kind of computerized world. And it was the first computer animated cartoon show of all time, way back in 1994.
Well, you gotta realize that I grew up watching Cyber Chase on PBS Kids, so it's not like it's that out there of a concept for me to get into.
Yeah, and Tony Jay was the main villain of that show, Megabyte.
That's cool.
And the animation obviously is crap by today's standards, but it was pretty like innovative at the time. Maybe, it basically looks, the first couple seasons basically look like a mid-2000s video game.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
So It's obviously not up to modern standards, but for the time, it was cool. And actually, the same animators eventually made Beast Wars a couple years later.
Reboot episode 1. Oh god.
What?
That CG animation, that is a little harsh on the eyes.
You have to put yourself in the position of a kid in 1994. Of a 6-year-old from 1994, which is what I was.
All right. Yeah. I don't think I've seen such bad animation as this ever since seeing a few clips of Starship Troopers, the Roughneck Chronicles. You ever heard anything about that series?
That came out like in the early 2000s. By then, animation technology was much better.
Okay. Have you seen the entirety of that series?
I don't know if I've seen the entirety of it, but I do remember watching it.
Okay. I've gotten more into Starship Troopers in recent years, especially listening to the audiobook for the novel. I even watch the entirety of the 80s anime series based off of the book. And honestly,
there's an 80s anime series based on Starship Troopers?
Yeah.
I need to find that.
Oh, I'd recommend it. I mean, it's kind of a very slow burn series, and it's all subbed. There's no dubbing of it, but it's definitely more loyal to the book than the Verhoeven movie is.
Yeah, the 90s movie, I know it's not faithful to the book, but I always got a kick out of it. I remember. I was probably too young to see it at the time, but that shot of Daisy's tits. Woo, my god! I may have been a little too young to be watching that shit, but what could I
do? Was it Daisy or Dizzy?
Dizzy. Sorry, Dizzy.
Right. I mean, I like the movie too. But I like it for different different reasons. I like it as cheesy 90s action schlock, whereas if I wanted
it isn't just cheesy 90s action schlock. For one, it's visually fantastic for the time, and two, there's a lot of really clever commentary kind of on how societies will dehumanize enemies by making them literal bugs. So there's kind of of clever satire of pro-war propaganda. So it is actually a good movie.
I mean, I guess, yeah. I guess I just prefer. I guess there is a certain part of me that kind of prefers the messaging of Robert Heinlein's original novel. I mean, I did not really take it as we need to just blow up civilian centers for the sake of blowing up civilian centers. War is definitely narrated as nowadays with our modern American military. I just thought that there's a legitimate enemy that is legitimately trying to attack us. Although, then again, maybe the skinnies were a more of an innocent bystander than anything, and it was wrong for the Terrans to attack the homeworld of the skinnies at the beginning of that book. I don't know.
Yeah, because but in the 90s movie, you could basically say that humans started that war, and that the whole meteor was kind of retaliation. You saw that we basically were colonizing the bugs' planets.
Yeah, I mean, a definitely stupid decision to be trying to do that.
Yeah, because they clearly were advanced. If they could send a meteor off across interstellar space, if they had mastered interstellar travel, because normally the speed of a meteor across different star systems would take thousands of years. So they obviously must have some kind of hyper speed engines. So they clearly were an advanced society you really shouldn't have been fucking with.
Right. Well, okay. I guess there is some smart commentary to come with the movie, but I just like it primarily, at least for the action schlocky side of it, and a couple of the performances are fun to watch portrayed as well. But I thought the original novel was a bit more thought-provoking in its own kind of way. Like I remember that there's one part of where that the teacher. Okay, so in the original novel, the teacher and Ratchek are two different characters. Like the one leader that they eventually fall under that leads the Roughnecks is an entirely different character from the teacher that Juan Rico was tutored by. So in the book, he has a little bit of a talk with his teacher, and his teacher poses the question: is value subjective or objective? One of the students says it's objective, then he says incorrect, it is subjective, and gives a little bit of a economic commentary on the meaning of valuing something. Like one person will value eggs a lot because they eat eggs with like most to all their breakfast, and plus they bake or anything like or something along those lines. Whereas another person will barely ever eat eggs, and so it'll be value less for them. So it'd be harder to sell eggs to that other person.
That is basically how economics work, but that's the reason why money exists, because it's kind of it evolved out of the barter system. Like, for example, if somebody picked apples for a living and needed dental work, they'd have to find a dentist. If you didn't have money, you'd have to find a dentist that needed like the exact number of apples to be the value of a dental service. How would you do that? It would be a complete clusterfuck.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you definitely explained the concept that I was trying to explain a lot better than I did. Thank you.
But yeah, that's just basic economics. That's kind of why money exists. And actually, money is one of probably humanity's greatest inventions. It's essentially a collective fiction. The idea that money has value is something that only really exists in our minds. For example, if everyone stopped believing in gravity, gravity would be completely unaffected by that. But if everyone stopped believing money had value tomorrow, it would have no value.
Right.
But it's that collective delusion that allows our society to function.
Yeah. Because like you said, not everybody values apples the same way.
No, right. Money kind of gives everything objective value. It trades for this on the market. That's its objective value.
I mean, I actually had a coworker once at the restaurant that I worked at many years ago at this point, who said that he would prefer if we went to a bartering system. And there is actually that point there. I mean, yeah, bartering system is great, but currency is like a universal bartering tool where that you can barter anything for whatever the appropriate amount is, instead of having to
money allows people to specialize in certain fields, which if you can specialize in certain fields that has this monetary value, it really allows people to do that, and people can seek out their service. Whereas in a world where there was barter, everyone would have to have a generalized survival ethic, and no one would be able to specialize in anything. And thus, we wouldn't have this wonderful thing called civilization.
If I may add to that, it allows people to specialize in a certain skill whilst also still at the same time being able to purchase or even pay for service that was anything that they really wanted, in theory, at least, just as long as they had enough of that almighty dollar.
Right.
Or gold coins or whatever the currency is of the society.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll wrap this up here soon enough. But ultimately, yeah, Transformers 1, good movie. I would suggest everybody to watch it, except at this point, I think Transformers 1 is very quickly getting out of theaters now. I do remember searching up on my phone.
But it didn't deserve to be a flop. I mean, it wasn't a great, perfect movie, far from it, but a lot of movies that are a lot worse. In a world where Despicable Me 4 makes over $900 million, the fact that this movie was a flop is a damn shame.
Yes.
Even though The Wild Robot was better.
It is a crime that we commit upon ourselves.
Yes. Parents, stop hating your children by showing them Illumination Entertainment movies. They deserve better. I know that they cry and they poop, and I know children can be a pain in the ass, but they don't deserve any kind of abuse like showing them Despicable Me 4.
So who's the? This might be like a obvious, easy question for you, but who is or which animation studio is worse, Illumination or Sony?
Elimination, not even close.
Right. Okay. Harder question. Pretend that in a pre-Spider-Verse, a pre Mitchell's versus the Machine kind of world, which would be worse? Pre-Spider-Verse Sony or Illuminations?
Elimination.
All right, fair enough. And
Fuck
also,
the Minions. I hate those stupid things. They're annoying.
Who is the worst director, actually? Roland Emmerich or Michael Bay?
Michael Bay.
All right, I guess I'd have to agree with you because at least Roland Emmerich doesn't have as much mean-spirited parodying of different ethnic groups as Michael Bay.
Yeah, his movies are awful. There was another great Robot Chicken skit that made fun of the racism in Michael Bay's movies. It has these two Transformers that one has a turban, the other has a face like an elephant, and they're like, "Tech support calling. Point me to the nearest deli. Is that an old deli or a new deli? Who wants to be a millionaire?" And they both transform into taxi cabs.
Wow.
I'm like,
because every single Arab and Indian is a very good car driver.
that's the joke. It's obviously mocking the racism in his movies. Because I'm like, that's not that far off shit that's actually in Michael Bay's movies. That's what's so funny, and it's a parody of them. But it's hard to parody them because it's so over the top.
Right. So you and I have said before in a live stream that the two best movies that Roland Emmerich has ever done is the first Independence Day movie and The Patriot. What would you have to say is the two best movies of Michael Bay? The Rock with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage.
Probably Con Air, and Con Air was pretty decent, I guess.
Con Air and The Rock, or is Con Air like an alternative name for The Rock?
No, Con Air is they're separate movies. Con Air and the one he made recently about Benghazi was okay. So I guess those two.
Oh yeah, damn it, I forget that that's a Michael Bay movie because it's so much smarter than his usual output.
Yeah, that was actually better than Mike. Yeah, definitely much better. But what can you? It's still a Michael Bay movie, and ultimately, like Christopher Nolan's worst is better than Michael Bay's best.
Are you sure? You're really saying that Tenet is better than 21 Hours?
Yes.
Okay. I still have yet to see Tenet, so
best.
All right. So, I guess off that metric alone, actually, which is okay? What is the worst Roland Emmerich movie? Actually,
Moonfall. I'd say maybe 2012. That was a total piece of shit.
Maybe Independence Day 2.
No, Independence Day 2 was much better than 2012.
Okay.
What was that one he did? What, White House Down or something? That Jamie Foxx is the president. That was shit.
Was that Roland Emmerich?
Yeah.
Okay.
And with Independence Day 2, I just loved on his trailers constantly saying, "You had 20 years to write this."
Right. So, which of these two would be worse, 2012 or 21 Hours?
Oh, 2012 for sure.
2012 is worse? Okay.
Much worse.
But if we were to say The Patriot and Independence Day versus Con Air and 21 Hours,
definitely The Patriot and Independence Day are both better. So Roland Emmerich's the better filmmaker.
All right.
Yeah, Independence Day. I enjoyed that as a kid. So I've got a bit of affection for it, even though it's kind of stupid in a couple places. I'm aware.
It is a pretty dumb action popcorn flick, but I still like it. Definitely liked it as a kid. One thing that kind of baffled me, though, my most recent watching of it, I watched it on Hulu, and for some weird reason, they had edited out a lot of the scenes with the family of the redneck character.
I think because those scenes were in the extended edition, so I think you were watching the theatrical cut.
Really?
Yeah.
So you tell me that the part of where that the one young boy is all like, I'm so sick of medicine. Stop treating me like a baby. And the older brother being all like, do you know how much this costs? Do you
Yeah, the extended cut kind of makes the kid getting sick a much bigger plot point than the theatrical cut had it.
And of course, there's the redneck character who like grabs one of the Area 51.
I like the scene with the
guys by their
redneck
collar.
character, Randy Quaid's character, sacrifices himself is like my favorite scene in the movie. I love that. Hello, boys, I'm back.
Yeah, so many memorable campy lines. But okay, maybe it was a theatrical, or excuse me, the extended edition. I just remember being kind of annoyed, and I kind of missed those scenes because it developed the arc of the well, definitely the eldest son with his dad a lot better because his dad was so irresponsible, and then later he ends up like grabbing an Area 51 soldier by the collar, being like, "That's my son that is about to die there. You better do something." That kind of, I guess, eventually warms up the older son to his dad more, being like,
Yeah.
okay, he's kind of becoming a man right now. Now I'm becoming a little bit more proud of him. Of course, by the end of the movie, of when that he blows up the one UFO, he definitely becomes proud of him.
Yeah, he saves. Yeah, he sacrifices himself to save his kids and all the people at that area.
Right.
Which, even though the movie is still ridiculous in many, many, many different ways, mostly the whole plot point of a computer virus engineered by people like affecting alien software is really, 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 really stupid.
Yeah.
Why the hell are these space aliens using Windows 95?
But who better to deliver such cheesiness than Jeff Goldblum himself?
Yeah. Even if you did like have their signals and some of their technology left behind, their signal, like if the virus being transmitted onto their ship, really shouldn't have any effect on their software because it wouldn't be made to their software standards. And how the hell would you know? Will you be able to code their software in like a few hours? Seriously?
Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff.
It's still a very silly movie.
I guess that's kind of where we'll leave it off of. If anybody out there sees a physical copy of Transformers 1, buy it. Definitely.
It's not. It's out in December on 4K Blu-ray, so get it then.
Right. But not a whole lot of people who had watched, just this one guy named Shockwave who was all like, what the skibbity? And yeah, I think that might be a reference to the dumb kids that were behind my my row of seats that kind of kicked me in the back, talking too much.
Fuck them kids.
Yeah.
If you kids are watching this live stream, you suck.
Yep, you suck as much as the character that you were laughing at, thinking that he was comic genius, that being Keegan Michael Key's Bumblebee.
Yes, exactly.
But anyway, thank you all to everybody who probably, maybe not, watch this live stream in the future. And thank you, Loudmouth, for joining me.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
See y'all later. Take care.